Hey there, Guaranteed Video fans. Welcome to our Post-Mortem podcast episode about Shitty Shitty Bang Bang, or as it's properly known, the amazingly aerodynamic, unleaded, and Quadro-Cylindrical Fly-A-Macar. So we're probably just going to call it Shitty Shitty Bang Bang because that's a little bit easier.
That's a good call.
But I'm Neil Ciceriga, and going from Kevin, Ryan to Corey, introduce yourselves.
I'm Kevin James. I guess I wrote this one.
I'm Ryan Murphy. I portray Brian, and I shot the drone footage.
I'm Corey Tilton, and I was present for a lot of that.
You were so underselling what you did for this, Corey.
Oh, yeah.
I blew fans in Ryan's face.
You did a lot of incredibly helpful lighting work, grip work, and the lighting for this one was very important. We even did test shoots for the lighting, which sounds insane for a video called Shitty Shitty Bang Bang. Neil, you composed the score.
Yes.
You played Neil in it, and you also worked on the special effects with me.
Yeah, and I also, I forget, what was the context of coming up with the short that led directly into writing the script? Do you remember?
We were brainstorming last summer, trying to come up with a succinct joke. Just something we could make, because, I don't know, the last thing we had done that was a skit was Beyond Believability Factor Fiction, which was like 7 or 8 skits in one, which it was such a big shoot. We wanted a shorter shoot. And this, honest to God, the shoot was real simple. It was basically a day with a bunch of small pickups later to finish the effects out. But the germ of the idea came from, I thought it'd be funny if we did a flying car video where the car ran out of gas or stalled and didn't fall, and we called no attention to it. And I told you guys, you all thought it was funny, and I spent 15 minutes writing it, and it shows.
I remember, like, when you came up with the idea, I remember, like, really stressing, like, the core of the humor has to be that this is kind of an unwinnable situation. Your car's not falling, but you will if you leave the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how are you going to get down? Unless you have rope, which we don't.
That rope joke, God. The Swiss Army rope, which I think that, I don't know, I imagine I went on Amazon to order rope, saw that there was red and white rope, and went, it'd be kind of funny if it was Swiss Army rope.
Because when you say Swiss Army, everyone thinks of a Swiss Army knife that can do many things. Rope does one, and we leave it behind. It can't do its one job.
That's why they had to invent the knife, so they could cut the rope, I suppose.
Cut the rope.
Yeah.
Now, last spring, many moons ago, I first got a Mavic Air, a really cool drone that could shoot in HD and in 4K. And I showed it to Kevin first, and he went, we've never been able to get this kind of aerial footage before. It was way outside of our, either we rented it, or we got it from some website. We had to pay for the rights to use it. But the fact that we can shoot aerial from wherever we bother to go to means, like, this opens up our ability to do so many things.
And you were disciplined with it. Like, you've used a drone a good amount for work and for fun too. And when you and I got together the first time, I mean, I've been around drone footage shoots before, but I just watched you operating it and thought, wow, this is like a new tool in the toolbox. This would marry really well with this stupid flying car idea, which really was just flying car doesn't fall when it stalls out. So yeah, Ryan, Corey, and I got together once, shot a bunch of footage around Silver Lake High School because we needed a backdrop where the car could come to a stop. And we needed something vertical, like something tall. And we couldn't go into the city to get like skyscrapers in the background. And I didn't want to use stock footage. I wanted it to be all Ryan footage. And that water tower, I thought it was a good indicator of height.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was good with the composition. And we took that shot. It wasn't even shot in 4K at the time, because I think the first time we went out to get footage, Ryan, the SD card was a slower speed. So you could only shoot 1440p, I think.
Yes.
I know this is so exciting to listen to, but we ended up running it through this crazy upscaler to get like an 8K version of it. So we could like move that shot around and do a bunch of things with it later for all the After Effects shots we had to do later when like it's like sunrise and sunset and when it's the middle of the night and all that. We reused that shot a lot.
Yeah. I
we
remember
definitely push it to its limits.
when you were originally telling me about the idea and telling me about the drone footage, Kevin, and how you were going to do all this, I remember thinking to myself, wow, this sounds like a ton of work, and he's taking on a lot. And you kind of downplayed the amount of work that it was going to be. And I was like, man, he must just he knows what he's doing. He's done this all the time. And it's easy peasy for him, because he's like, oh yeah, we're going to fly up here. We're going to do this. And then I'm going to green screen this. And we're going to like have him hanging out the window here. And I'm going to shoot this in the day and this in the car and this a day for night. And then once everything was shot and you started editing, I was like, "Oh no!"
He sees.
Now it is.
Okay.
It's not as easy as he originally made it out to be.
Ryan and Neil have seen, I don't know if I want to call it willpower, but they've seen that, like, is it encourageable? The amount of easily motivated willpower I find when I'm like, no, this is a great idea. Let's just do it. I honestly think the actual production of it was real easy. It was genuinely fun in a way that
Oh, yeah.
these videos sometimes can't be, because we're trying to get so much coverage and so many angles in like an 8-hour period before the sun disappeared. This, though, the meat and potatoes of it was one full day of Ryan and Neil in the car in a garage. And I had bought a bunch of new lights. I really wanted the light to feel motivated by the sun. I wanted like Ryan and Neil not just to be like to be in like really hard contrasty shadows. I wanted like, okay, we have like a really nice soft fill for the sun, and but it's like when it's like, you know, having ambient reflections within the car, but then we have really harsh light just outside the car doors. So if Ryan puts his arm up on the car door sill, you see a really bright light source, the sun hitting him. We even did a test effect shot. It's the shot where Ryan leans out the car and yells hello to that man below, and that man below was my father, by the way. We finally got Jeffrey James.
That's right.
In a guaranteed video. The editing was just daunting, depressing at times. We shot it in August last year, and the opening scene, I hate the opening scene. And it's not you. Ryan and Neil are so goddamn funny, but the jokes about like stimulus money and stuff like that feel so dated and obnoxious. We didn't really ping pong or like do any crit about the script. Like, yeah, let's just shoot it.
Well, in the summer, we had talked about, does this exist in this ridiculous, barely PG-13 campy universe of like the New Kids, if you will, verse? Is the pandemic existing, or is this escapist nonsense? And the answer is we can do both. But no, we're going to acknowledge, because remember, at August, before anyone had a vaccine, before the vaccine was available to the public or at all, we were already proactively thinking of comments of they're together without masks. That was the first thing we discussed.
That was a big
are we
discussion.
going to wear masks or not in this video? And how do we go about making sure that we film this safely? And do we exist in a universe where COVID is happening right now or not? And we went, yes, it exists. We cut more than one COVID joke in poor taste.
I think the joke was literally just one of us at the beginning says like, beautiful day. Yes, the virus is cured.
Yep.
What did you do with your,
That was the one line. Yeah, but it felt very on the nose, and the longer it took to edit it, I mean, the one thing that really anchors it to the 2020-21 axis is the stimulus money, because that's how he got the flying car. Well, how did they get a flying car? I don't know. Everyone got stimulus money. Ryan bought rope, and Neil bought a car that could fly.
Yeah.
Because you assume they get the same amount of money.
It's from the Swiss Army.
It's a really good rope. He leaves it in the woods.
Look, the car was used. Okay.
I'll say one more thing about editing, about why it took so long, because I knew it would come up, because it is kind of like when I think back to this video in a couple of years, I'm gonna remember, God, it took like 8 months to edit this. It really was a matter of, we got everything shot. We had a really fun day filming it. It was like a good shot in the arm. Speaking of vaccines. Just like, wow, that was like a really fun time making that, because we did it right and we had the right amount of crew. And like, you know, Ryan and Neil in the car had a monitor. They could always see what was going on. We did it right. We did it the right way. We didn't even have to be outdoors, and it looked like you're outdoors. There's a lot of green screen in it that doesn't look like it's being green screen. But when I went to edit it, I realized we had overshot it. We had too much coverage. We had too many takes. We didn't have any storyboards going into it, despite how measured like the effects were going to be. So there was so many variables and so many moving pieces. It was like having the ingredients and no recipe and being told to cook something. So it just, every time I sat down to edit it, I would put like a day of editing into it, and you still couldn't really see a scene. And it was really frustrating to me early on. But once we had a rough cut, it came together much quicker.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like there were kind of like two big bursts, and in the middle there was kind of a like, no rush. We're not going to be able to shoot another one of these for a long time. So
Yeah.
So that kind of also delayed things, but it was a much more complicated After Effects and Premiere project than any of us anticipated, I think.
I think it was just it was polish, right? Because we had a few things we had to film after the fact, like, oh, we really need like an insert of like someone's hand doing this. We need like Neil came up with this really funny joke where Brian and Neil go to put their seatbelts on, look at each other and go, nah, like, which is a great gag. But we forgot to photograph you guys putting on your seatbelts in a wide angle, because remember there was the crop sensor button on the camera got hit. So we had one shot where Ryan and Neil were putting on their seatbelts, but because the crop button got hit on the camera, it cropped out the seatbelts for that one take. And you guys didn't know until we went to the edit. So we didn't have coverage of the seatbelts going on. So I had to go into the car, put on a black t-shirt to look like you guys, and shoot an extreme close-up of my shoulder, pulling the seatbelt over left, go to the other seat, pull it over the right. Like, little things like that just added up. There's still to today, little inches of it I wish I could polish up more, but I have to let it go. I have to stop editing this damn thing.
Well, I mean, yeah. Part of that, I think, comes from maybe your lack of confidence in the base idea.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, this has to look as good as possible.
Better than a TV show. Yeah. That's like my mark. I was talking to Ryan about this earlier. Like, as long as it looks better than like Big Bang Theory or something.
Personally, I felt like all of the insert shots that are, at least to me, very obviously not Brian and Neil, just make it so much funnier. Like when it's obviously like not Neil's hand.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I love it. I
the
love
Ren
it.
and Stimpy proportions, if you will.
Yeah, my dad's Ryan's hand stand-in at one point. My dad's like, "Why do you want me to do this?" My dad's like in his mid-60s. He's clearly not Ryan's hand. I'm like, that's funny to us. Like,
No, I love it. Yeah.
I almost wanted to put like Band-Aids on my dad's hand.
No, to me, the longer that stuff sat in the edit, and there was always a question of like, will we be able to go in and use our real hands to do this, or like, could I use my car? You know, but the fact that they're in there and it was made during the pandemic, we'll always think like, yeah, that's how we got around that. We just made a joke out of it, you know?
Yeah, we were resourceful and like worked what we had. And I think the actual green screening effects work. I didn't think it was that hard. That part wasn't hard. You'd think that'd be the hard part because we did it right on set, right? I did put a ton of elbow grease into cleaning up all the comps, like all the After Effects work. We even live streamed some of it onto YouTube while we were doing it because there, there's like, what was it? I think we made a list, Neil. It was like 65 effect shots.
Over 70. I thought 78 is sticking out in my head. I don't know how many of those are green screen, but most of them, I think.
Yeah, and like I put a ton of time into. I don't want any like weird artifacts that you see even in big budget green screen work. I just want it to look as good as possible. And you guys both wear glasses, and like sometimes when you're looking left and right, I took so much pride in going in and rotoscoping inside the glasses, and like making sure the refractions looked good, because again, I didn't love the script, but everything else in the video was coming out so good. Like they're like the acting in it, like not to just to kiss your guys' asses, but you guys like brought so much charm to this stupid idea. You conveyed history really well. I mean, it's easy. You guys have known each other for like 30 years, I guess. So.
Well, yeah, I'll just say that making green screen not noticeable is not that this is like perfect or anything, but for what it is, you put a ton of work into little details like, glasses and stuff that you wouldn't think about that are totally a headache to do. And it definitely makes the film a nice experience.
I tried really hard to make it not distracting, and there's still we straight up forgot to put a green screen behind a window in one shot of Ryan and in one shot of Neil, and in the shot of Ryan we found some interesting luma key techniques it looks good. In the one with Neil, we just didn't fix it. It's in the video. It's when the bats come in the car and you guys are swatting at the air. If you look, it's like less than a second. If you look, you can just straight up see like a pickaxe and a rake. We're in a garage.
It's like, but it's like it's positioned in a way that like if we didn't notice it until like 3 months into editing, no one's gonna see it.
Speaking of which, let's talk about the sky bats. It was mechanically difficult. It technically does not add to the story at all, but am I so happy we didn't cut it?
Yeah, that's something that if you're a producer making a good movie, you'd read the script and go, can you cut out the asinine part that goes nowhere, it comes out of nowhere, and introduces the most taxing part of production? No, we're keeping it. We want the bats.
We didn't call them flying rats. We implied the existence of ground bats. In a world in which they're a threat too, where flying cars don't. Yet it could easily be the Wile E. Coyote logic. If you look down, it falls. But nope, the car's fine. But we are bound by the rules of gravity.
Just to go back to Skybats.
Skybats, yes.
You guys look at each other and scream it like you've heard of Skybats, but you thought like your dad's made it up to like at a campground, like a campfire tale. Like, oh, I thought it was an old wives' tale. Skybats. Like, I don't know. It's like I thought you guys nailed that joke.
And that was another one when you guys said that that's what you were doing. And again, Kevin, you were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like put like a swarm of bats coming in the window. And you said it so matter of fact. I'm just like, oh, apparently that's okay, sure. You you just do it. It's easy. All right, sure, whatever.
1,000 bats will simply fly into the car.
Apparently Kevin does this all the time, and it's really easy to do. I'm an idiot. All right.
The bat effects fell on me.
Well, okay. Let me, in my defense regarding the ambition of the Skybats, we had a moment when we were making computer fighters years ago when Neil and I were watching a cut. It was a pretty final cut together, and we were getting coffee, and I said, you know what, man? You ever stop and think we could make anything? We've done it. Like, not that movie's like a real movie, but like there's literally nothing we could cook up that we can't do. I mean, since then we did GameCube controller, and there's Ryan. We made this video where Neil drives a GameCube around like a remote controlled car, and we couldn't think of an ending to save our life. And Ryan came up with this idea. It's like, what if like a bald eagle picks it up and brings it back to its nest of other GameCubes? And Neil and I were like, yeah, sure, great. It's the best idea I've ever heard. We didn't question having to make that happen. So like when Corey's like, how are you going to make bats fly in? I'm like, it's a movie. Like we don't. We'll use puppets. Like we'll figure it out.
Yeah, Neil, tell us a little bit about the Skybat, because when I first read the script, I was picturing in my mind's eye more like vague shapes, more like the beginning of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The implication of bats, not actually bats.
Yeah, so in order to make the bats, I had to use some sort of 3D particle emitter, particle emitter in After Effects, which just shoots. Usually it's just a bunch of little dots or stars or something, and they follow a certain behavior, but they let you put in textures or images. So I found some blue screen footage of a bat puppet from some stock footage website, and I just stuck that into the particle emitter, and it managed to render, like hundreds of them flying very slowly, but it did look like a swarm of bats.
Yeah.
And the first thing we tried was a more cartoony bat image.
Yeah.
And I think we realized that like something that looks like little, demonic vampire actual creatures would be funnier. So we found that terrible puppet, and I put it in there. The puppet was really good.
That when I first saw the puppet, like the close-up shot, I was like, that's actually a pretty terrifying looking bat. That's like a very what was that from?
Should we say?
Oh, sure, why not?
Okay,
it's the Post-Mortem. This is exactly what people. Yes, thank you, Corey.
So there was some made-for-TV movie starring Lucy Lawless, circa 1998, called Blood-Sucking Bats, or
I think it's just called Vampire Bats.
Vampire Bats. Okay, and I found a library of footage from Sony Television that had all the production shot, like all the studio work of these bat puppets. Like there's like a hero puppet, there's a bunch of stunt puppets of these things. And it was really low resolution because, standard definition television, right? It was like 640 by 360. So I ran it through an upscaler, a really nice professional upscaling program. It took a little bit, but then we suddenly had 4K footage of these bat puppets. And when we went to edit it, because we shot so much of this willy-nilly, again, no storyboarding, which is my fault. I should have gotten storyboards together. my one bit of direction during that scene was like, oh hey, we should just do a close up of the hero bat like creeping in. Like either it's gonna be in
Coming
the corner.
at you, yeah.
I almost wanted to get Ryan again and do an insert where we like wetted him down one more time and had Ryan like look over his shoulder like Bruce Campbell in an early Evil Dead movie and crash zoom on him and then come back to the bed. We cut that like but yeah, that was my one bit of direction. Like we just need like an alpha bat of sorts, like the striped gremlin.
Yeah.
I'm still worried people aren't going to know that you're yelling sky bats because no one's ever said sky bats. Sounds like a Pokemon.
I think people will. One of the last things we did was have a conversation about that line, and I went in and tried to record myself like boosting the sibilance by saying like sky bats.
Yeah.
and just like trying to make sure that it really cuts through and you can tell what's being said. We'll see.
One last ditch solution I had regarding my concern for the legibility of that line was I actually mocked up a really low resolution DVD subtitle. Like it was just basically I had the phrase sky bats come up below Ryan and Neil when they scream it, and it looked like I want it to look like a late 90s DVD player.
Yeah.
like kind of like crappy, like, you know, like 480.
No anti-aliasing. Yeah.
Just crappy looking. And I sent it to Ryan and Neil, and you both said, they'll understand. It's fine. You're overthinking. God, what else is there? Neil, music-wise, God, like how much elbow grease did that require for you?
A little bit. The hardest part for me, I think, was coming up with the first music. I just kind of was grinding my gears on that for a little while because we wanted something that would evoke, you know, chitty chitty bang bang and just kind of like freewheeling 60s fun music.
Mm-hmm.
That also felt like you could sing the title along with it.
When you said you were going to do that, I was like, yeah, good luck.
Well, you wrote the title. What's the term? Triambic pentameter or something like that. It's just like
I wanted a very convoluted title. I thought it was a really fun convoluted. I wanted just marble mouth word vomit.
Well, considering you weren't trying to, it does fit perfectly in a waltz. So I realized, oh, it's kind of a circus font. It's goofy. I'm just going to make circus music. Dun, 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 dun. So that's how I finally came up with that part of it. The rest of it was just kind of piecemeal scoring, reacting to the action on screen, because it's so closely like timed to, you know, the comedy. It feels like a Looney Tunes score or something. It changes direction every 2 seconds. But I think the most fun was doing the like the little montage of us actually flying and waving and smiling, because I made it sound like an 80s, you know, Alan Silvestri is what you commented. Jerry Goldsmith, yeah.
You actually got, I hesitate to use the phrase self-conscious, but I don't know if either of you guys heard this, Corey Ryan. Neil gave me his first draft for the flying montage music, and I listened to it, and there was just straight up Back to the Future in it at one point, and Neil didn't notice. Like it, like
no,
it,
I don't.
Like you ended up going back and changing like 2 notes to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But there was one moment where it cuts to like the wide of what is it, Summer Street in Kingston, and the cars on the left side of the frame. And how'd it go, Neil? It was like,
it wasn't exactly. It was just some big horns that kind of like went down, and then if you can hear it in your mind, go da na na na, like
it lined up, it synced up, like it was like every like third note.
It was close. It didn't feel like the exact score, but it felt like something from the Back to the Future score.
Every
so
comment
much
would
that
have been,
after you said it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And
every
so,
YouTube
like,
comment
all the
would have
comments
been,
are going to be about that moment, so I changed it to something else.
Yeah, well, you killed it again with the music.
Yeah, I dug the score a lot because I had only been watching all of this with like the temp music for the longest time.
I'm sorry.
And I was so glad because for a while I was like, oh, is he going to do something like this temp music? And I'm so glad you did, because it had at times it has this like very epic, like borderline like Danny Elfman, like, you know, like you're saying, like Back to the Future kind of vibe. But I didn't hear anything that like, you know, sounded spot on to any of that. But yeah, I was especially the flying music, like that was sick. I like that a lot.
Thanks.
We got a real creative charge out of the takeoff moment when we started doing the effects for that because they were unlike a lot of the other effects in the video. I went out in the middle of the winter. I attached the camera to my car with suction cups, and I went to the front of my car and I pushed with all my might down on the suspension of the front of my car, and then I released it. So you'd see the suspension of the car expand. And I said, I'm going to go in and I'm going to rotoscope this and make it look like that's the suspension giving as the car takes off. And Ryan's acting in that scene when Ryan like grips like the window frame of the car. You saw that, Neil, and said, "Oh, you got to compliment the suspension like as the car takes off. You have to like blow the shot up like 10% and have the camera artificially move vertically." Almost like you feel your own gut sinking the way you do when you go like down on a roller coaster or something. And that combined with Ryan's acting and your music, like that fluttering going up, like it was way more legitimately effective as an effect sequence than I think we were going to pull off initially. So every now and then we'd be working on this video, and whether it would be like something like that or your music or the acting or the lighting or like even like arbitrary like extra drone shots Ryan had for the credit sequence, like of like, is it the Sagamore Bridge?
Yep.
Yeah, like all that stuff. Like we just kind of kept hitting this bar where it was like, crap, we have to keep. I felt at least anyway, crap, we have to keep putting in these tent poles to keep making the thing feel polished and consistent because there was just so many home run moments from beginning to end with this inherently bad script. I keep coming back to it. Ryan, was there any drone stuff in the video that like was particularly hard? Because we did like we got together like what 3 times to shoot drone footage for it.
Yeah. Well, interesting. What didn't make it into the cut because it wouldn't make any sense. But one of the times I went up with the drone, my drone, the Mavic Air, got attacked by a big swarm of bees. Bees do not like that thing.
Sky bees.
Sky bees.
Kevin, can we just 80?
I was.
Are the bees like it's taking our jobs or something? Like that?
I don't. Between the noise it made, I actually think it's a self-defense thing. I think that they don't know what the hell it is. I think it sounds enough like a swarm of bees that they're like, "This is our territory. Get out." The way that, in my limited experience, dogs do not like this thing.
Oh yeah.
It moves too much like a. Yeah, the machine that the living things do not like. It doesn't move right. It doesn't fly right. Birds don't care. A lot of wild animals don't care. Wild turkeys don't care. Dogs just hate the noise it makes. And it turns out the bees do too. Something worth clarifying in our drone footage. We fly over a hill in Duxbury. We see a little bit of Duxbury, Massachusetts. To the south, we see Kingston and Plymouth. And a little to the north, we see a tail end of Marshfield. That is Miles Standish of the early Plymouth colony, because we grew up here in the South Shore, Kingston. That is
the
not
statue specifically.
Yes, there's a statue of Miles Standish. It's a Miles Standish memorial. That is not Governor Bradford.
Now that Miles
Thank
Standish
you. I'm
monument,
so sick of people calling it Governor Bradford.
that Miles Standish monument has been in a few of our older videos, right?
Yep.
It was in obviously it was in the finale of No Place Like Home.
Yep, like most young filmmakers, like this doesn't cost any money. And yeah, it's also not that popular. There's not a lot of people around.
You can see it from a lot of places down in Plymouth and Kingston.
Grays
Bingo.
Beach. I was at Grays Beach the other day taking some bird photos, and I could see it clear as day across the water. When I watched that montage, you compared it to Alan Silvestri. Corey, you mentioned it had a bit of like a Danny Elfman feel. I thought when it gets really not whimsical, but kind of majestic when you see the Miles Standish monument, it reminded me a lot of The Snowman, that 80s animated.
David Bowie.
Well, David
in one version.
Yeah, it's a beautiful animated film. It always gets me. It's an amazing film. Just look it up on YouTube. It's so good. That music getting legitimately majestic, plus the shots that Ryan got of Miles Standish.
I know what you mean. I made this joke the other night that it feels like the
Travelogue.
Yeah, or that it feels like the travel board for Kingston produced this. Like it's not a town you'd visit as on vacation.
That's where we'll film Springfield. Yeah.
We did a test shoot, like I mentioned earlier, where Corey, Ryan, and I got together, and we wanted to see if we could pull off the green screen work outside. And it was a great move to do a test shoot because we pulled it off. The shots looked good, but getting the green screen to be stationary and evenly lit was a pain in the ass because the sun was moving. But Corey brought these. Were they carpet dryers? What was the fan thing you brought?
I think they're supposed to be like you said, like carpet dryers or like floor drying fans. I just like from being in like bands and music stuff. Everyone I know buys these for like the drummers always buy them, or like different members in the band just for like live concerts where it gets like hot on stage.
Yeah.
But the other thing was we did that in August and it was so hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blasting Ryan with the fan, getting his hair blowing in the wind. I was so happy with the way that shot came out. But that's when we decided, let's shoot the car in the garage, because I think we even like hooked up an air conditioner like the morning of in the garage. Like, let's just make this.
That's right. You did.
Yeah. To get a lot of Gatorade, make sure it's nice and comfy. Treat the people you're working with respect when making stupid movies.
Did we have to order a pizza at one point?
Probably.
We definitely ate. And I have no strong memories of what we ate. We have to have.
There was a pizza joint in Kingston down the street from Kevin's parents' house that we went to.
Napoli's probably.
Probably Napoli's.
Napoli's pizza's still good.
Nice.
If I were to have a positive takeaway, or rather, no, a takeaway. If I were to have a takeaway of this, it would be, I'm so glad that Shitty Bang Bang is finally going to be enjoyed by our patrons and then the world beyond. For all our patrons at home, thank you, thank you, thank you. We really couldn't do it without you. And I am not a religious man, so I'm not praying. But if I was going to pray, I would hope that Dick Van Dyke doesn't die this week, so everyone thinks we're making fun of him or something.
Oh my God! Why would
we
you
love
Don't
Dick,
say it, don't
because
say it.
we love Dick Van Dyke.
Oh my God! This video doesn't come out for another 48 hours. Now he's totally gonna die.
Oh,
He's
God.
not
Oh,
gonna,
he's so old. He
Oh no,
could die.
72 hours. It's 3 days. No, he could totally die. That's
then
like
we're
50
covering our bases.
He's almost 100.
He's really old.
He's in his 90s.
Wow.
Kevin,
And
can
we
you have a
love
version
him.
prepared? Put in a disclaimer. Even if he doesn't die, just put a text that says, "Wait, Dick Van Dyke was alive when we made this."
Yes.
You want that at
yes.
the end? You want that at the end instead of wait? Hold on, that's terrible. You guys want me to go in? Okay, is this what you're suggesting? At the end where it says no one wishes to take credit for this script. Should I change that to say Dick Van Dyke was alive when we made this?
No.
No.
Yeah, the filmmakers do not wish to disrespect the
No.
memory of Mr. Van Dyke by parodying his film. He's probably gonna live another like 5 years.
Have any of us seen Chitty Bang Bang?
Never all the way through.
No.
What?
We just knew there's a flying car in it.
I love that movie.
I know
Corey's
there's
a
the song.
fan.
I know there's the creepy villain.
There's
Yeah,
there's
the
a
child
lot of
catcher.
creepy. There's a lot of creepy villains. That movie. That's one of those movies that's like 4 hours long or something obnoxious like
That's
that.
why I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
There's so many. Like there's 3 movies in that movie.
Why the fuck would you watch a children's movie for that long?
I don't know. The movie has an intermission.
What?
Wow.
It's one of those movies that if you bought it on, I have it on VHS, and it's like 2 VHSs.
They were still figuring out movies at that point, because you're right, Neil. Why would you make a children's movie longer than like 80 minutes?
It's riding the coattails of Mary Poppins. That's why we got
Yeah,
Dick
it's
Van
on the
Dyke.
heels of
He
Mary
can sing, he
Poppins.
can dance. Again, we
But
all
Mar-
love Dick Van Dyke.
Mary Poppins is a nice digestible length, though.
We have one
Yes.
thing we didn't talk about.
Yes.
The toy car.
yeah.
Because we talked a few ways about doing that, and I drive a 2014 Chevy Cruise, black, very common car. I knew we'd have no trouble finding some sort of model for it. I was surprised when we took to eBay. There was no like 1/8, 1/4, 1/5 scale models. We just had to get like a Matchbox car.
Yeah.
And I think it's
Well-
it's like a Toyota though, the one you got, right? It just happens to look enough like it that you might not notice.
Well, yeah. What there was on eBay, there was it was like Matchbox size version of like your car, but like a year before or something.
Yeah.
And I just thought it needed to be a little bit bigger. The one I found was
It was like
I
a
think
Hot
it was an
Wheels.
Audi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But I covered up the logo with some tape, and I shot it against a green screen at various angles. But I didn't really have like the right kind of lights or lenses to properly do miniatures. So what you see in the movie are basically still images that I kind of manipulated to look faux 3D.
Yeah, that was a good technique to go about it with. I think you have that 24 mil Sigma macro. I love that lens. It's like it's basically a macro. It's like probably my favorite lens you've got. And There was also a sunroof on that car that you had to cover up with some masking tape. I think.
Oh yeah. No, I had like a roll of electrical tape next to me that happened to match the paint on the car, so it was pretty easy to hide some details. For a couple shots of the car, I just replaced the undercarriage with a photo of a real car undercarriage, and I just kind of like positioned it in a way that looked like it was attached to the toy car.
Yeah.
And it looks all right. You were worried that it was going to look way too
MST3K. Like,
yeah.
I think I said at one point, like, direction wise, it can't look intentionally bad. You know, it can be confident and not be perfect. We toned down some of it when you provided me the assets, your photographs, like your sequences, like basically the animations. I guess you'd even call them, like the sequence of photographs where it looks like it's driving, or coming to a stop. I went in and I did some work to like add some weight to it, like slow it down and interpolate some frames and stuff like that, just to make everything feel heavier. There was one really cool effect, Ryan, when you did we did a few shots at the water tower at Silver Lake where you took off and you did like one where you like kind of just like stayed stationary for like 10 seconds. And you did a few like up and downs just in case we would use them. And we took one of the shots where you ascended and had it recording the entire time. And I told Neil, I'm like, hey, why don't you like take a few varying photographs of the toy car from different heights? So like the camera
for
lens,
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I did for that shot actually ended up being I put the car on a stick stationary, and then I put the camera on a tripod, and then I lowered the tripod, and then I reversed that shot, I think, and it matched up pretty well. I think we had to like
for the establishing
mess
shot
with
at
the
night.
time and stuff. But it ended up fitting pretty well.
It looks awesome, and you use a cheap emboss effect to give it the car like that fake rim light from the moon. Which was important because I gave you guys intense backlighting in that night scene because I wanted to look like a movie from 1988 or something.
Yeah. So I did the night shot, and I also did like the burning sunset orange establishing shot as well. So like the ones that like are very like over the top painterly colors, not necessarily realistic, but it hides the fact that it's a toy car a little bit.
That's something else, Corey. You lent a big hand in was the, as we call it, the Morticia Addams lighting on Neil's eyes. Oh my god, that scene when I wrote it out, I'm like I remember literally mumbling out loud. All right, here's our Ren and Stimpy scene. Like here's our doom and gloom moment. Like we're just wetting Ryan down. Knowing that in post I was going to make Ryan's eyes like intensely blue, like I like to do to play off the heat, like the sauna visuals of the sun setting, which makes no sense. But what did we do, Corey? Did you like cut like a hole into a piece of cardboard for the Morticia Addams?
It was like a piece of, I think we took it out of the trash in your parents' house and cut it a little square in it, and I had to hold it just right, and I think you like had the camera like under my arm from one direction and you were in another one, and made it so Neil had a hard time seeing for a few minutes.
Yeah, we were like, okay, Neil, and action. You'd open your eyes, the pupils would get smaller.
Yeah.
Got to cool off.
I adored that so much when you were like, oh yeah, we're gonna do like the sun setting so they're hot. And I'm like, perfect. That's awesome.
Like, Kevin, you're an idiot or a genius. I can't.
No, it's one of those things that like makes sense intuitively, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, we've been out there for a long time. You start to get hot after a while. Also, the sun sets. Putting those together doesn't really make sense, but
no,
it works in a film.
Yeah.
But it does like visually, and I think once you added like a little bit of movement to the car, and like you Kevin, I think it was you, Kevin, put in some like really nice creaky noises.
Yeah, boat creaking.
That I think like really sells that shot, like the guys, you know, in like the life raft out at sea, like for however long.
They're not coming up with the solution. No one sees them.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, yeah, somehow it ended up being over 5 minutes. And
should we talk about the end?
I think we should.
Go for it.
Well, what I would argue is our second little dipping our toes in the water of pandemic humor is my little soliloquy, my monologue to Neil's character, Neil, of if we work hard and we work together and we use our intelligence, if we use rationality over emotion, if we use collaboration rather than competition, and the answer is you're fucked. They're not gonna make it. And
I thought about that when we were putting it together, because sometimes when you make something, I know, Neil, you've talked about this a lot with your music. You'll put something together, and it's not till the 11th hour you realize what someone's going to read out of it. Like, oh, wait a minute. And I thought, like, is Ryan's speech going to come off like that's playing off of the pandemic stuff? Because we mentioned the pandemic at the beginning, and it's the first bit of information you get about the movie beyond the title, is that there's like a pandemic joke. So you just assume it's going to come back at the end. Are people going to think that this speech is going to be playing off of that? And it wasn't supposed to be that on the page. It was just like, let's really hang a lantern on the fact that they're not going to get out of this. So it's like, we're going to play inspiring music. It's going to slowly zoom in on Ryan. Ryan's like literally going to grab Neil's arm, like Predator handshake style, like Carl Weathers and Arnold. Like, yeah, they're going to do it.
if we all wear our masks, if we all trust science, if we all get a vaccine, and fucking nope.
Where do those skeletons come from? Because some people might think that we only had one, but no.
I have 2 skeletons.
I thought that you guys only had one, which was another one when you guys were like, oh yeah, and then they're both going to be skeletons. I'm like, I'm interested to see how they pull this off.
Nope, I have the primary one is our boy Rodney. The first one's Rodney Dangerfield because he has his eyes. The second one's Steve Bannon. I named that. Yep. They're both November 1st. So like slashing prices after the day after. They're both November 1st Spirit Halloween purchases. So they're dirt cheap.
They've come in handy many times.
Worth every penny.
It was difficult, but I absolutely insisted that the skeletons still be in the exact same hand position.
Yep.
Like we died seconds later.
Yeah. They're still wearing our glasses. So we know which one's the Neil and the Ryan skeleton. Like, yeah, of course it's that.
That's one of those like repetition breeds humor things. Familiarity. You start laughing at a common thing that you've just seen or heard too many times. You've seen so many of this exact like medium close up of Neil, medium close up of Ryan, wide establishing of the two of them. like it's just like, this is the visual language of the last 3 minutes. Now here they are as skeletons. It's over.
At one point, I heard discussion of the sound of flies buzzing.
Neil didn't like the fly buzzing.
I'm still up in the air whether it would have been funny or absolutely not funny at all. But it's good how it is, I think.
We'd have to get a bunch of flies and a microphone.
I'm actually glad we didn't do. I had a suggestion that after the credits, there's a half-second shot. The car just blows up. Just insult to injury. Like, that's too much.
So many people have
too much.
So many people. I showed it to my friend Phil Healy, great guy, the other night. Just like, hey, did you notice anything out of the ordinary? And he said, it's too bad you didn't film an ending where you just saw a bunch of car wreckage on the ground with like 2 corpses like smushed. Like, that's a really dark ending, but like everyone wants to see you guys eat it at the end of this for some reason.
Is it gonna be like the Rocco's Modern Life, the Suckomatic, that like there's this sky is littered with cars stuck in motion? This is how the humans said this is the end. This is it. They're not gonna make it.
I like the idea that you guys and that car are going to be up there forever, but I also like the idea that. And I think this was something you added in, Kevin, that
the plane,
there's a plane flying by.
Yeah.
Like planes
decision.
are a thing that exists.
They exist too in this world.
There already are flying cars. They're called planes,
but they very much do not function like this flying car.
The odd thing is, any other year you'd go out in that field with the drone at that height and look to the sky, and you'd see like a passenger airplane with like contrails flying in the background, but not this year.
Yeah,
not 2020. So I found some 4K stock footage of a plane. I superimposed it and I quietly mixed in just a distant flying. And we have to linger on those shots just long enough that you notice, because it's so ambient. It's like hearing ambient birds chirping or crickets. You don't notice it at first because it's such a common sound. But it's like we really hang a lantern on. There's only 2 things in this shot: a flying car and a plane. That was a funny image to end the thing.
It would like if we got rattled by a helicopter going by. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and they don't help. They don't help us.
Do we think of any other endings? Was there any workshopping or brainstorming? Like maybe they do get out. Maybe they try to rappel down. Maybe one of them gets out and forgets about the other one. Like, do we?
I remember at one point thinking, like, is this actually like kind of a fun situation that would be like fun to explore getting out of this? And I think we realized like it would just take too long and it would be funnier if we just stuck to the joke, you know?
Favorite moment in the whole video for me is easily when Neil opens the door, looks out, and it finally dawns on him that you're doomed. And he sits back down and he just like looks forward. It's Ryan looking at Neil, waiting a second, and then leaning forward to get a slightly better look at his face. Because it's like the one bit of the damn movie where something is shown and not told. The audience sees the gears turning in Neil's head, but they haven't started turning in Ryan's head just yet. I just thought
Ryan's like out of focus too. I don't know. Yeah,
it's wonderful.
It's a good moment.
It's a really good moment. Like, and again, Ryan, I think your acting in this is so goddamn good.
Well, thank you.
And you brought so much to it, and it needed something. But like that beat was the first scene I edited, and it gave me so much confidence in the cadence of the rest of it. Like, okay, there's like real directing and real jokes here. It's not just gag.
I have a
loud
question
noise.
for you.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ryan acting beats, when he's giving his speech and he says, if we just think, and taps his head, you added a little bit of a sound effect. Is that still in there?
It's in there. It's very low in the mix because I sent it around, and I sent it to you guys. I showed it to a few other friends, and I got wildly different reactions from everybody. Ryan was like right in the middle. Ryan said, didn't make me laugh, whatever. Like he wasn't like mad about it. But I think, Neil, you were like unsure about it. You wanted it quieter. I don't know. I just think how do you not put in like a hollow coconut sound when someone smacks their head and says, think? Like, how do you not do that in this video?
Yeah, I think when you sent it to me, I sent you like a sound effect of like a Animaniacs like boing. And I was like, you should do a boing. And you're like, I think I'm not going to do anything now. I'm like, all right.
We've made it was almost a callback. This is such a self-indulgent reference, but in New Kids on the Rock, the Christmas one, where Neil and I have to brainstorm how we're going to save Ryan from the Misery Meister, who's like this wizard that lives in a mountain that froze him. I say to Neil, if we just think, we'll save him. And I just love the idea that that's like the one action we haven't taken. And it's kind of a callback to that beat, I guess.
I like that. I think my favorite shot from the entire short is Neil face on the steering wheel and his like look of like, oh, maybe there is a chance. And when he takes his face off, just
the Scotch tape
sound and just like his absolute like look of defeat when he is face first on the steering wheel. I absolutely adore that.
Oh, I want to comment on what, yet again, more just back patting, but in our world, cars sort of act like they do in the real world. I mean, obviously it flies, right? But Neil revs the engine. I've wanted to do that for years, where someone revs an engine by pumping the key, which is like something a 6-year-old thinks works. And then when you run out of gas and you look down and you see the E on the gauge, it's the turn signal sound effect. There's like a lot of little accents like that are just like vague understandings of how cars work. You might think that none of us have ever driven a car based on the way.
It's like a child's understanding of,
Yeah. You put gas in the hubcap and there's like you just don't understand how these things work. But all the sounds belong in a car. So if you're not paying close attention, you won't catch those little wrinkles. God, this movie's stupid.
It's okay.
Okay, I think we've covered everything we want to cover.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. It has absolutely no search engine optimization or pop culture ambulance chase. There's like no one's asking for a flying car video right now.
What is the actual like list name on YouTube going to be?
It's going to be Shitty Shitty Bang Bang. Neil and I talked about this like 12 hours ago. We were like, what do we like put like asterisks in? Do we like self-censor? And then we found there's a bunch of videos with the word shit in the title on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it might not get recommended to just anybody, but I don't know. I feel like we don't get recommended anyway.
Yeah.
I think that this is the type of content that your viewers and subscribers are looking for.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the next one won't take as long to put together. This one, yet again, really fun shoot. I had a really good time shooting this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a really fun day during a time when it was very hard to have a fun day.
Yeah.
So hopefully the next one. Don't let me write the next one, guys. Please don't let me write the next one. Like if I give you guys a script and I ask for notes, just literally delete the text in the document, paste your own script, and send it back. That's what we have to do next time I get ambitious. Like, we got to make something. Here's the script, guys. Like, that's what we got to do.
Funny if you like turned in your opus, it's like
Legit good.
yeah, it's like delete.
Yeah. I write like Groundhog Day, and then you guys send me back like Shitty Shitty Bang Bang.
2.
This one's got 2 flying cars.
And they get married in the end. Okay.
They get married. That probably happened in one of the Herbie movies, right?
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
it's a love bug.
Lindsay Lohan marries a Volkswagen.
Yeah. I haven't seen any of those movies. I always associate them with the Benji movies in my head. Did you know they made a Benji movie with Chevy Chase?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he dies in the first 5 minutes and then does a voiceover of the damn dog. And it's like adult written. It's like very adult. There's a lot of cursing, and like Jane Seymour's in it. And there's a lot of scenes where it's implied the dog's like hooking up with Jane Seymour.
Ew.
This is a real movie.
Is this not Karate Dog? I thought this was called Karate Dog.
No, it's called like Benji Dies or something like that. It was like rated PG-13, and Chevy Chase did it like in the early 80s.
Okay. There's a 2004 Karate Dog with Chevy Chase.
Jeez.
Chevy Chase
That's
just
really-
likes dog
Is
movies.
his wheelhouse? First of all, Neil, thank you so much that at one point in my day was included, is that not Karate Dog? And I didn't think that would happen today, but here we... And yeah, this sounds like a rabbit hole that's worth going down of Chevy Chase is a weird thing about talking dog movies. All right, I'll dig maybe a
Oh my
future
God.
episode of Guaranteed Audio.
I know John Voight is in Karate Dog as well.
It's called Oh Heavenly Dog. It's classified as a religious film.
Oh, Heavenly Dog.
1980. And it was definitely when Chevy Chase was like leading man material.
It sounds like a Detective Pikachu.
Yeah. Man, when I edit this podcast together and it's just this audio with like footage from the movie, what the hell am I supposed to put over? Hey, you know what? Chevy Chase was in a Benji movie.
Just show like clips from the movie.
Yeah, great idea. Good idea.
It's a shot of us just like moving around green screens outside,
That's
just
what it's
being
gonna be.
sweaty. And
Yeah. I'm gonna put in like I'm gonna put in like behind the scenes footage from like Terminator 2. Make it look like we like really busted our ass on this one.
lots of miniatures.
I've never heard this movie mentioned anywhere.
Neither have
Yeah,
I.
it sounds fake. Oh, we gotta save it. We'll save it for our next Guaranteed Audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our next episode of Guaranteed
We're gonna do
Audio.
it. Another Chevy Chase movie.
Another shitty Chevy Chase movie. Guaranteed Audio. I could just see the iTunes reviews. Like, I loved this podcast until it became a biannual Chevy Chase movie review show.
Oh yeah, because you guys did Memoirs of an Invisible Man, which after listening to that, I went out and bought that because my girlfriend had never seen it, and yeah, Chevy Chase and Sam Neill, gotta love it.
Sam Neill's great in that movie.
And is it Daryl Hannah or
Yeah.
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 No one else would take the part.
poor Daryl Hannah?
All right, don't let me talk
Poor
about that
Benji.
movie. Poor
Yeah.
Benji. Yeah.
Poor Benji.
Spoilers, he dies in like the first 5 minutes. Like a car hits him or something.
Oh God.
Chevy, right? Not
Just-
the dog.
Oh, I forget how he died. I haven't seen the movie. I just sorry. All right, we should
The-
stop talking about
the
the
cast. Sorry, I know. We agreed not to talk about it, but the cast list on Wikipedia is Chevy Chase, Benji, Jane Seymour, Omar Sharif.
Omar Sharif. This
Yeah.
has to be
Wow.
fake. And
No,
if
it's
not,
real.
dear
It's
God.
real. I've seen clips.
Well, to
Benji gets the credit.
to everyone at home, to our patrons, thank you as always. This has been another Post-Mortem. Outro, I'm still Ryan Murphy.
Kevin James.
Corey Tilton.
And Neil Ciceriga.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to everybody at home, thank you. Until next time.